Hello, welcome to the Much Flute channel. Thank you for clicking on this video. Today I'll be talking through a few tips and advice that I wish somebody had told me when I first started playing flute. So these tips have worked well for some of my beginner students, and I hope that they will bring some results for you as well. So the first suggestion I have for complete beginner flute players in terms of practice is to aim for consistency and not duration. It's much better if you could play for 4 to 5 times a day, even if the sessions are sort of shorter. They don't need to be longer than half an hour a day, and playing consistently throughout the week is much better than only doing 1 to 2 really long sessions and kind of cramming all your practice in. So being able to play more frequently during the week will not only build up your stamina, so you'll be able to play flute for longer, but it'll also allow you to develop those lip muscles that you need to make a really tiny aperture to produce a sound. Personally, I think unless you have a lot of self-discipline, if you try to start out to play for an hour a day, you'll just end up burning yourself out and it won't be sustainable over the long run. It's much better for you to build up your stamina naturally over time by playing consistently than it is to try to push yourself too hard, too fast at the start. So the second tip I have for complete beginner flute players is to actually create a practice plan that you can stick to during your session. I do talk a little bit about the importance of having a practice plan or a schedule in my other video, 5 ways to improve your flute playing, but essentially I think it's really important to create a plan because it lays out all the tasks you need to complete, and it just makes sure that you won't accidentally miss something or you won't consistently neglect a certain aspect of your playing because of time issues, or you simply just don't want to practice it because it feels difficult. Having a practice plan will keep you accountable and sort of just lay out visually the list of things that you need to complete. The third tip I have for beginner flute players is for you to really focus on just a few aspects of your flute playing at a time. The most important foundational skills I think that beginners should aim to work on when they first start out on flute is sound, so being able to produce a really nice clear tone. The second thing is rhythm, so being able to count correctly and play notes to their correct value. And the third thing is technique in general, so things like posture, fingering changes, learning the correct fingerings, maintaining a good position with how you hold the flute. I personally think these are very important things that beginners should aim to get right at the start, just so that they don't need to spend lots of time in the future revisiting these skills and perhaps even developing some unhelpful habits that could take a really long time to undo. If you set out to try to achieve too much too quickly, then there's a very good chance that you'll end up forgetting something. So it's better that you don't try to focus on too much too soon and just really work on building up and strengthening those foundational skills that will be able to take you quite far into the future. So the fourth tip I have is specific to sound production, and I generally encourage all my students to try to produce a clear full sound that's supported by free flowing air. The best way to achieve this will be for you to figure out the size of the aperture you need for all the different notes, and this will differ slightly between every person and every student because we all have different lips, and so each person has just got to work on finding their own spot on the flute. But I have found that practicing in front of a mirror can be very helpful. Another thing that can help you achieve a really great sound is to try to keep your chest open, so avoid playing with closed shoulders, and in general try not to hold your flute lower than 45 degrees so that you can keep a very nice open stance and not restrict your airflow. So the fifth tip I have is related to finger technique, and I try to encourage my students to keep their fingers close to the keys, especially when they're not pressing down the actual keys. Keeping your fingers close to the keys will reduce the distance they need to travel, So that will help set you up for just a more efficient way of playing in the future. I think it's also important to remember that it takes time to develop good skills on the flute. So don't be discouraged if certain things don't work straight away. Sometimes they do just take a bit of time, and it could take a day, it could take weeks, or it could take a couple months, and every student is different. So it's really just important that you don't compare yourself too much to what other people are doing or how long it took so-and-so to master these skills. We're all different. Everyone has a different set of lips, different set of hands, and so what's important is that you do what you need to do to master the skills that you want to on the flute. So those are the 5 tips that I have for beginner flute players, and I do wish that somebody told me these things when I first started out on flute. Feel free to leave me a comment down below if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to address in my next video. Until next time, stay well and happy fluting.